But again, it doesn't fit into the old structures, and so you have to be willing to, you might say, listen more deeply than ever to find out how love is going to interface with and suffuse the status quo so that it actually happens. You've got to hang in there with your gift. And your gift is your willingness to bring your deepest level of knowing, your deepest revelations as a result of your listening into expression. I mean, it's got to be obvious to you that Paul could have just talked with me for the last 19 years and never told a soul. But he was willing, when I said it was appropriate, to not sit in his closet, unbeknownst to everyone, and share. And hang in there with it, in spite of all of the various stretchings of the borders of his tent that he would rather have avoided, because he had to change. So, you couldn't do anything in those particular instances, but it certainly has given you something to feel into more deeply. And I'm glad you brought it up, because everyone else here has had an opportunity to be aware of it and lean into more deeply. And everyone who listens to a tape recording will, and it will spread, and the opportunity will have presented itself for greater willingness on everyone's part to actually be part of the change, instead of have wonderful spiritual ideas to twitter with each other about. You see? I've been talking today about the work of waking up. In so many words, the labor of waking up, and it might make it seem less interesting. And as you know, I'm not one to stand up and wave my fists and jack you up into the kind of energy it takes to be willing to change and transform the world, because the transforming of the world won't come from a jacked up ego. It comes from your connecting with your heart, that in you which is divine, which the nature of which is love, and then being willing to do the work. Now, Paul is sitting here listening to me, and he is afraid that I am not presenting the picture fully, because he knows that although everything we have done together for the last 19 years has stretched him, and in fact this last year has stretched him the most, the work of it hasn't overridden the meaningfulness of functioning in harmony with the movement of fulfillment. He wouldn't consider going back to a job where he punched a time clock from 8 to 5 and had a guaranteed income. to be in touch with the essence of your being, to be in touch and to feel the love that you are, that God is being right where you are, is in the most grounded way, in the most stable way, in the most secure way, in the most invulnerable way, a satisfying, meaningful context in which to do the work. And so although it stretches you, and although at times it is difficult, there's never any question about wanting to go back and do it the old way and stay tiny. I could tell you just inspiring things, but I want you to know that waking up, because it stretches your tiny sense of yourself, will not always be a comfortable experience. Not because it's designed to be hard, but because you're conditioned to be tiny instead of whole, and it's hard to break the habit. And if you understand that there is some work to it, you won't wonder what you're doing wrong when you find out there is work to do it, work to it. And you will insist on staying with that place of great honesty deep within you, where you know you're on the beam, even though it's breaking all of the old status symbols, the upsetting the status quo, breaking the old rules. Now, Paul would like me to cheer you up. But I'm actually going to stop talking, and we're going to let it hang here and take a break. And you can just be with it for a bit. Just let it sink in, and then we will continue. Okay. We have a question from downstairs, if you'll come up.
Thank you, Raj. I really have a great appreciation for what you've been talking about, the infrastructure and not fitting into that. I come from a very conservative religious community where I have always tried real hard to fit in. It's always worked until this past couple of years, and I've just started coming undone. And I've failed.
Glory, hallelujah.
Well, it doesn't feel good.
I understand.
I have failed in marriages that, from all appearances, should have worked. The men in my life were controlling and very rigid in their beliefs, and I'm just at a point where I realize what it is I've always done. I can't do it anymore because I'm always going to get what I always got, and I don't want to get it anymore. It just isn't working, and I feel...
Let's stop there. It just isn't working. I want you to write that sentence on a piece of paper and hang it on your refrigerator. That's not a statement of the problem. That's the answer. The realization and the willingness to accept that it just isn't working is the answer. It's the release. If you will accept that it just isn't working, you will be free to move on. But if you say it just isn't working, but if I try a little bit harder, it will, you'll be stuck. The answer is, it really isn't working. And to realize that something doesn't work is something to say glory, hallelujah about, because you'll stop trying to do something that doesn't work. And you'll give up thinking that you ought to be able to make it work if ... blah, blah, blah. Continue.
Even though I absolutely know it. There's no doubt it isn't working. And
in spite of your wet eyes, I see joy in your face at the knowing that you have, even though it means that your life is going to have to change in ways that you're not sure you're ready to embrace. And I want you to be aware that there is joy present with you at the same time as you are feeling concern. The joy is valid, and embrace it and honor it. It's joyful because the truth is always relieving. To feel the truth is always joyful. It's when you begin to think about what the truth is going to mean that it becomes a problem. There, continue.
The grief that comes with knowing, and there is a grief that comes with knowing I'm not only grieving the end of a relationship that I thought should have worked. In my plan, I thought it should have worked. But I'm also grieving the idea that what I've always done, what I've always embraced, isn't my truth anymore. And I'm just wondering, at what point I guess this is more of a personal question. At what point is there a mental health issue here? Is there a drug?
The return of sanity always feels as though it's insanity. Sanity is returning. It is not a mental health problem, it's a mental health solution. I understand that you feel unstable. You know what? You've gotten used to swimming with a bunch of paraphernalia attached to you. And you can swim real well with all this paraphernalia strapped onto you. You are having moments of experiencing swimming, we'll say in the nude, without the paraphernalia, and the lightness and the freedom that you're experiencing is at one and the same time glorious, but you don't know what to do with the experience. Well, the answer is swim away, swim more, and pay attention to what it feels like not to be burdened with what wasn't working. You're not going to put on new paraphernalia. You're going to get used to swimming without paraphernalia and enjoying the sheer easy pleasure of it. It's funny, isn't it, that the loss of what doesn't work causes grief? You're not the only one who has that kind of experience. Now, you know, there are 88 keys on a keyboard, on a piano. And Mozart played the piano according to certain rules that caused him to have to use the keys in a certain chord progression, and so on. And Beethoven played the piano, and he broke the rules that Mozart played by. And so he used the keys in an entirely different way, and there was an entirely different kind of music that emerged. You're sort of like Debussy, because you're in a position of playing the piano without following any rules, you might say, and instead of communicating the meaning by chordal structure and progression and pattern, he expressed meaning in a very diffuse, free-ranging way that expressed more feeling in an entirely different way. You see, as music progressed, the old rules were broken, and there was a greater freedom of expression. To be divested of all the rules that at one point made you feel secure naturally causes you to feel insecure, and perhaps as though you're having a mental health problem. But what it really means is that you have the freedom to be utterly original. You have the freedom to move in ways that haven't been expressed before. You have the freedom to not be required to contribute to the world according to old rules established by somebody else who established them by breaking the rules that came before. You see? Yeah, so this is your work. This is the work this is the labor for you. It's really the same labor everyone's engaged in, it's just that your details are different. Most of you get your feeling of sanity from the fact that you fit in with everyone else. And yet, as the expression of God, it's your purpose for being. Your purpose for being is to make a gift that no one else can give. to make a gift that no one else has ever given. And so you're on the threshold, the cusp of being able to do this. Now, don't be afraid to let your life change. If it's any consolation to you, there are more people in the world who don't give a damn whether you are still a member of your church that you grew up in than there are that do give a damn. There are more people who would be glad to engage with you just because you are you than there are those who would be willing to engage with you because you're part of a particular group with a certain set of beliefs. So, are you going to stay in your little ticky-tacky box to please a minority in the world? Or are you going to dare to venture out of your little puddle into an ocean where everyone is willing to receive you for no good reason at all? Dare to let your life change. It will not be empty of meaning. Continue.
I guess that was my question, is will I be alone? I'm afraid of that.
Only if you crawl into a closet in somewhere and don't stick your head out again.
So I'm on the right path by putting myself out there.
What's your alternative? To stick with something that doesn't work, which you feel from the tips of your toes, you know it doesn't work. That's your alternative. Stay in your familiar prison. You'll stay in it until you don't stay in it. But the door is always unlocked. The door never was locked. You just refused to open it. You never experienced a call for opening it. You didn't really realize that there was an outside where there was even more of the meaning of life.
So it's got to be a change in my attitude. Is that my?
Well, your
adventure
attitude has already changed. Now, how long is it going to take you to catch up with your new attitude?
Well, I guess I know what to do now.
Well, and what you know to do now, what you know is that you don't know what to do now. Except be willing to explore, be willing to embrace, and let those who are still caught in the box you were caught in, let them be distressed for you. Let them pray for you because you're a wayward soul. You can use their prayers in support of your new adventure. You need a lot of help in the unknown. Let them pray, whether their reason for praying for you is wrong or not. Their prayers can help. Be like an 18-year-old again, with all possibilities in front of you to explore, and dare to feel delight at your newfound freedom. And watch out that you don't hang on to the old just for the sake of hanging on to it.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
You know me pretty good.
It won't always be easy here as you make the shift, as any crab that tries to climb out of the crab pot gets pulled back by the ones who are still there. If you like crab pots, stay there and don't complain about it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Face the inevitable glory that is the result of being stretched, expanded beyond the limits you have lived by. It's worth the effort. And as I've been saying, just because it might take effort doesn't mean it's wrong. Now, I meant it when I said to put that on a slip of paper on your refrigerator, because that's something you know from the tips of your toes, in spite of what you think. And knowing and thinking are two different things. Thinking gets you in trouble, and knowing gets you out of trouble.
You're right, I know it.
So honor it. Dare to be consistent with your knowing. Anything else is dishonesty. It's staying in the place where everybody is shooting the shit. See, the problem is, you know how to shoot the shit real well, even if it's religious shit. So, everyone wants you to honestly present yourself. And there are more people, as I said, who look forward to that experience with you than those who would hold you to your past. Now, I'm going to shift here, and I've talked about this before, but it's important. Each of you is at least clear on the fact that there is something to wake up to and you want to wake up. And you all have had the experience that she has been talking about, where there are others who would hold you to your past. Be alert for when you are trying to hold others to their past. Be alert for all of your efforts to see to it that others continue to be dependable and responsible and intelligent according to your definitions of intelligence and dependability and respectability and responsibility. Well, if we don't do that, the world will go to hell in a handbasket. There will be chaos. It's not true. It's not true. Dare to do the work here. Dare to take the brass ring, and if there's work that seems to be associated with it, do the work. Change. Let yourself be changed by what you find yourself knowing from the tips of your toes. Persist in honoring what you find yourself knowing from the tips of your toes. That's honesty. That's being real.